On a dusty roadside filled with honking cars and rushing footsteps, Clara stood with a broken tin plate in her hand. Her clothes were worn, her hair messy, and her face pale from hunger. She stretched the plate timidly towards strangers as they hurried past, but no one slowed down. To them she was invisible, just another shadow on the street. Her stomach growled painfully. She whispered, almost in tears, "Please, sir." "Anything at all. I haven't eaten today." A man in a polished suit glanced at her, but looked away like she was nothing. Clara bit her lip. She was only 24, but hardship had carved lines of wariness across her face. Just then she noticed a man walking toward her, not in a hurry like the others. He was tall, dressed in a simple but expensive-looking outfit. His steps carried authority, like someone who knew the ground belonged to him. Instinctively, Clara looked away. In her experience, rich men didn't stop to give food. They stopped to insult, but he didn't walk past. He stopped right in front of her. "What's your name?" His voice was deep, calm, and strangely kind. Clara hesitated before answering. My name is Clara." "I'm Ethan," he said with a faint smile. She nodded quickly, unsure why a man like him would bother with her. "Tell me, Clara," Ethan continued, "why are you out here begging?" Her chest tightened. "Because I have nothing, sir. No family to lean on, no job to keep me alive. I beg just so I can eat and see another day." For a moment, Ethan was silent, his eyes studying her face. Then he asked, almost in a whisper, "If you had the chance, how much money would you really want?" Clara blinked to him. Normally, she would beg for coins, just enough for food, but something in his tone made her bold. "I don't want just coins, sir. I want enough to change my life forever." Ethan's lips curved into a half-smile. "I like your honesty." Then, leaning closer, he said, "What if I told you I could give you that chance? Be my girlfriend for 1 month. Clara gasped, certain she had misheard. "What?" "You heard me," Ethan replied firmly. "I need you to act as my girlfriend for 30 days. Her plate nearly slipped from her hand. "Sir, this isn't funny. I beg for food, not this kind of game." Ethan shook his head. "I am serious. My family is hosting a grand celebration. Every son must come with a wife or girlfriend. I don't have one, and if I go alone, my mother will be furious. I need someone to stand beside me, and you fit perfectly." "Why me?" Clara demanded, her voice trembling. "You could pick anyone. Why a beggar?" "Because," Ethan said slowly, "you need money and I need simplicity. Every wealthy girl I know would see this as a chance to trap me in marriage. You," his gaze locked onto hers, "you only want money. That makes you safe. That makes you perfect." Clara's heart pounded. "And if your family finds out the truth, that I'm poor, that I'm nothing?" "They won't," Ethan said firmly. "When you meet my mother, speak with confidence. Tell them you're the daughter of a successful businessman. Carry yourself like royalty. I will guide you through every step. Just trust me." Clara looked at the ground. The idea was crazy, dangerous, but also tempting. For once, hope stirred in her chest. After a long silence, she whispered, "If you pay me well?" "Deal." A smile spread across Ethan's face. "Good. Tomorrow meet me at this address." He slipped a card into her hand. Clara held the card tightly, unable to believe what had just happened. She had begged for food and instead been offered a chance to step into another world. But before her heart could settle, mocking laughter sliced through the air. She turned and froze. It was Kelvin, her ex-boyfriend. The man she had once trusted, the man who had promised her forever. Now he walked toward her proudly, his arm wrapped around a tall, elegant woman dressed in designer clothes. When Kelvin saw Clara, his laughter grew louder. "So this is where you ended up, Clara?" he said loudly, making sure others nearby could hear. "Begging on the street like a child?" The woman beside him smirked and whispered something in his ear, making Kelvin laugh even harder. Clara's chest tightened, but she refused to lower her head. "Kelvin," she said coldly, "is this how you greet me after everything?" He shook his head in mock pity. Clara, now you understand why I left you? Look at yourself. Dirty clothes, cracked plate, empty hands. What future could you ever give me? I needed someone who could match my dreams, not drag me into the mud. Her fists clenched, but her voice stayed calm. So you left me because I was poor? Yes, Kelvin said proudly. I left you because you had nothing. Now I have someone better. Meet Sophia, beautiful, educated, rich. She is everything you could never be. A burning anger rose in Clara, but instead of breaking, her voice grew stronger. She stepped forward, her eyes blazing. You are not a man, Kelvin. You are a coward. A man who abandons a woman because she struggles is weak. You think you've won because you hid behind Sophia's wealth? No, you are nothing but a parasite. Without her money, you are still empty. Kelvin's smile disappeared, but Clara was not done. She turned her gaze to Sophia. And you, don't laugh too much. The same man who betrayed me will betray you. The day he finds someone richer, he will drop you like trash. A man who cheats once will always cheat again. Sophia's face flushed with embarrassment, her lips trembling without words. Clara's voice rang with dignity as she raised her head. Mark this day, Kelvin. One day you will search for me, and I will be far above you. And when that day comes, remember what I told you. You threw away gold for glitter. Kelvin's face darkened, but Clara didn't give him a chance to respond. She turned, walking away with her chin high, her cracked plate still in hand, but her spirit no longer broken, though her chest was heavy. She whispered to herself as she walked away from Kelvin and Sophia, I may be poor today, but tomorrow will not look like this. My story is not over. That night, the city was quieter. The noisy traffic had thinned and the heat of the day had given way to a cool breeze. Ethan had just stepped out of a modest cafe tucked in the corner of an old street. Unlike most billionaires who hid in hotels, Ethan liked slipping into ordinary places at night. It was his way of breathing freely, away from cameras, away from fake smiles. As he walked with his hands in his pockets, his eyes caught sight of a figure sitting by the shuttered doorway of a small shop. At first, he thought it was just another homeless stranger, but as he drew closer, recognition struck. Clara? He called. Her head snapped up. For a moment, she looked startled, almost guilty. Sir, she whispered. Ethan frowned and stepped closer. What are you doing here at this hour? Why are you still on the street? Clara lowered her eyes, shame flooding her cheeks. Because this is where I live. I sleep here. I lost the paper with your address. For a second, Ethan was speechless. He had expected her to say she was waiting for transport, or maybe still begging. But hearing that she actually slept there tore something inside him. You mean, his voice softened, you sleep here every night? She nodded quietly. Yes, I have no home, no bed. This piece of cardboard is all I have. Ethan ran his hand through his hair, disbelief clouding his face. My God, Clara, why didn't you tell me? Clara gave a weak smile, her voice almost breaking. Would it matter? No one cares. This is my life. I've learned to accept it. But Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes hard. He had seen poverty before, but not like this, not with someone who carried so much quiet dignity in her brokenness. No, he said firmly, his voice sharp with decision. Not tonight, not ever again. Get up, Clara, you're not spending another night on this street. Her eyes widened. She quickly shook her head. No, sir, I can't. I don't belong in your world. I'd only embarrass you. What would people say if they saw me with you? Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady. Forget people. Forget what they will say. I live alone in my own house. My parents don't control my roof. And you, his gaze deepened, you are under my word now. I already promised you. From tonight, you are my girlfriend for 1 month. That role begins now. And my girlfriend will not sleep on cold concrete. Something in the way he spoke, serious, unbending, broke down her fear. Slowly, hesitantly, Clara rose to her feet and followed him. They walked side by side until a sleek black car pulled up. Ethan's driver opened the door respectfully. Clara froze, staring at the car as if it were a dream. Ethan noticed her hesitation. Get in, he said gently. Minutes later, the car rolled into a grand mansion, glowing under soft golden lights. Clara's breath caught. It was larger than anything she had ever imagined. Tall pillars, glass windows, and gardens that looked like pieces of paradise. "This is your home now," Ethan said as he opened the door for her. Clara stepped inside carefully, almost afraid the polished marble floor would reject her worn-out shoes. Her voice trembled. "This place, it feels like heaven." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then get used to heaven. For the next month, this is where you belong." But before Clara could reply, the sharp echo of heels rang through the hall. A woman's silhouette appeared, tall and elegant, her perfume sweeping ahead of her. Ethan's eyes darkened instantly. "What are you doing here?" The woman smiled with icy confidence. "Did you really think I wouldn't hear? Your mother said you needed a woman by your side." "Well, here I am." Clara froze, her heart pounding. Ethan's jaw clenched. "I told you never to step into this house again." The woman ignored Clara completely as she walked closer, her eyes fixed on Ethan. "Don't pretend, Ethan. You and I belong together. Forget the past, forget the fights. I am everything your family approves of. Educated, wealthy, respected. I am Mandy, the woman who should stand beside you." She reached out to touch his arm. Ethan stepped back sharply. His voice was ice. "Don't you dare call me yours. You and I are finished. Finished forever." Sophia's eyes widened with fury. "You can't mean that after everything we shared. I mean every word," Ethan said, his tone like steel. "Leave, now, before I have you dragged out." Mandy's lips twisted with venom. She turned and hissed, "You'll regret this, Ethan." Then she stormed away, her heels striking the floor like thunder. Silence filled the hall. Clara sat stiff, her mind spinning. She had only just stepped into this new world, and already it felt dangerous, filled with pride, power, and hidden battles. Ethan sighed heavily and turned to her. "I'm sorry you had to see that. She is nothing but my past. She means nothing now." Clara nodded slowly, still shaken. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust. But her heart whispered a warning. This world of wealth was more complicated than she imagined. That night, Ethan gave her a guest room. Clara had never laid on such a soft bed. She touched the silk sheets with trembling fingers. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to smile. So this is what comfort feels like. But when morning came, her heart raced with new fear. Today, she would face Ethan's mother. She stood before the mirror, dressed in clothes she had borrowed from the mansion's wardrobe. Her reflection stunned her. She hardly recognized the girl staring back, elegant, poised. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Clara, today you cannot be the beggar. Today you must be someone else entirely." Then a few minutes later, Ethan knocked softly on Clara's door. When she stepped out, dressed in a gown he had carefully chosen for her, his breath caught. For a moment, he just stood there, leaning against the doorframe, watching her. "You look perfect," he said with a slow smile. "Clara, listen to me. Confidence is everything. My mother respects only people who carry themselves like royalty. You must walk in there as though you were born into wealth. Do you understand?" Clara nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. She tried to steady her breathing. I'll try," she whispered. "Not try," he corrected, touching her chin gently. "Do it. You, Clara, act it." An hour later, they entered the massive sitting room where Lady Margaret, Ethan's mother, was already seated. The room itself was intimidating. Polished marble floors, golden drapes, and portraits of ancestors staring down with cold eyes. "Mother," Ethan said formally, "I'd like you to meet Clara, my girlfriend." Clara bent slightly in greeting. "Good morning, Ma," she said softly. Lady Margaret's gaze swept over her slowly from the crown of her head to the hem of her dress. Clara held her breath, terrified that the woman would see through her disguise, but instead a smile bloomed on Lady Margaret's face. "Oh, my dear," she said warmly, extending a graceful hand to Clara. "You are so beautiful. Finally, my son has brought someone worthy into this home. Tell me, child, where are you from?" Clara's mind spun. She remembered Ethan's strict warning: pretend to be the daughter of a wealthy man. Her lips curved into a practiced smile. "Ma, my father is a businessman. He owns companies abroad. We travel often, and I only returned recently." Lady Margaret's eyes gleamed with approval. "Wonderful. I love children from successful homes. It shows in your composure. You look like a lady of class. Ethan has chosen well." Clara laughed politely, hiding the knot in her stomach. Her palms were already damp with sweat, though she kept her back straight. The conversation went on. Lady Margaret asked about fashion, Europe, and investments. Clara drew on scraps of overheard conversation she picked up while begging near business districts, mixing them with careful improvisation. Each time she faltered, Ethan would slip in a word or two, guiding her smoothly like a lifeline. At last, Lady Margaret rose, patting Clara's hand with satisfaction. "You are welcome to this family, my dear. I already like you. Ethan, don't lose this one. She is a good match." Clara forced a smile, but her heart was burning. The guilt was too much. When Lady Margaret excused herself to the kitchen, Clara turned quickly to Ethan, her voice trembling. "Ethan, I lied to your mother. Every word I said was a lie. My whole body feels hot. What if she finds out? What if she sees through me? Do you..." Ethan gave a reassuring smile, though his eyes carried steel. "Calm down. You did perfectly. She believes you. Take a walk outside, breathe a little. I'll handle my mother." Clara nodded quickly and slipped outside. The mansion's compound was breathtaking. Flowers lined the driveway, the air smelled fresh, and a gentle breeze brushed against her skin. For a moment she closed her eyes, trying to calm her racing heart. Then she froze. Standing near the gate, watching her with narrowed eyes, was a face she instantly recognized: Sophia. The very same Sophia she had clashed with just days before, when Kelvin, her ex-boyfriend, had paraded her on the street. The same Sophia Clara had thrown harsh words at. Sophia's eyes widened with shock. "You?" she exclaimed, stepping closer, her heels crunching against the gravel. Clara stiffened, her pulse spiking. "What are you doing here?" Sophia crossed her arms, her gaze sharp with suspicion. "That's my question. What are you doing here, Clara, in this mansion?" Clara forced a smile, lifting her chin. "This is my boyfriend's house, Ethan's house. I live here now." For a moment, silence hung. Then Sophia laughed, a cruel, mocking laugh that echoed through the compound. "Your boyfriend, Ethan? Don't be ridiculous. Do you even know where you are standing? This house belongs to my family. Lady Margaret, Ethan's mother, is my aunt, which means..." She leaned closer, her voice dripping with venom. "I know exactly who deserves to be here, and it isn't you." Clara's breath caught, but she steadied herself. "And yet, here I am. If Ethan chose me, who are you to question him?" Sophia's smile vanished. Her eyes blazed with fury. "You think you can fool him? I know who you are, Clara. I saw you yesterday. Yes, begging in the street with your dirty hands and ragged clothes. And now today, dressed in borrowed silk, you dare to pretend to be the girlfriend of a billionaire? You're a fraud, a beggar pretending to be royalty. Do you think you can deceive us forever?" Clara's fists clenched at her sides, her heart pounding with a mixture of shame and defiance. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But instead, she lifted her chin higher, forcing her voice to steady. "Maybe I was a beggar yesterday," she said slowly, "but today I am Ethan's choice. And no amount of your hatred can change that." Sophia's jaw tightened. Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "We'll see, Clara. We'll see how long this little charade lasts. When the truth comes out, and it will, you'll be the one crawling back to the streets." The tension crackled in the air between them, sharp as a blade. Clara's heart pounded louder with every word. She knew Sophia wasn't bluffing. If she dug deep enough, she could destroy her. Sophia's eyes glittered with malice as she stepped closer to Clara in the mansion courtyard. Her voice dripped with venom. "Clara, stop fooling yourself. Ethan may have brought you here, but I will never allow you to disgrace my family. You think you can hide behind his love? I'm going inside right now to tell my aunt the truth, that you're nothing but a street girl dressed in borrowed silk. Let's see how long your lies last." Clara's face turned pale. Her lips trembled. "Sophia, don't do this." Sophia smirked, her lips curling in triumph. "Watch me." She spun on her heels clicking sharply against the polished tiles, and marched straight toward the house. Clara's knees felt weak. Her heart thudded against her ribs like a trapped bird. If Sophia exposes me, everything will be over before it even begins. She clenched her fists tightly and whispered, "God, what do I do now?" Inside the kitchen, Lady Margaret, Ethan's mother, was sipping tea and chatting idly with the cook. When Sophia stormed in, her eyes blazing, Margaret blinked in surprise. "Aunt," Sophia burst out, her tone harsh and accusing. "Do you even know who that girl Clara is?" Margaret frowned. "What do you mean? That's Ethan's girlfriend, a fine young lady. She told me she comes from a good family. I like her already." Sophia laughed bitterly, shaking her head. "Good family? Aunt, don't let her lies deceive you. That girl is no daughter of wealth. She's a fraud. Just yesterday I saw her on the street. She was on the roadside, holding a filthy bowl, begging for food. Begging! She is nothing but a street rat pretending to be a princess." Gasps escaped from the kitchen staff. Clara, who had followed in desperation, stood frozen at the doorway, her chest heaving. "Stop it, Sophia," she cried, her voice breaking, but Lady Margaret's face was already hardening. Her smile faded into something cold and sharp. Slowly she turned toward Clara, her eyes narrowing. "Is this true?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm. Clara opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her throat closed up. Mandy folded her arms smugly. "Aunt, I know what I saw. She is a liar. Look at her, draped in Ethan's money, pretending to be one of us. She wants nothing but his wealth." Lady Margaret's eyes burned with fury. "Answer me, Clara. Who are you really?" Clara's lips quivered. Her knees nearly buckled under the weight of shame. Finally, in a trembling voice, she whispered, I only wanted a chance. I am not from a wealthy family. I live on the streets." The silence that followed was heavy and crushing. Then Lady Margaret's fury erupted. "What nonsense! How dare you step into my house with lies? How dare you deceive me and pretend to be someone you are not?" Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. She fell to her knees. "Please, Ma, forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was desperate. I only wanted a chance to live differently." But Lady Margaret's face was stone. She pointed at the door, her voice thunderous. "Get out! Out of my house this instant! You will not shame my family with your filth. Stay away from me, and stay away from my son forever." Sophia smiled in quiet victory, watching Clara's heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. Clara's sobs tore through the mansion as she staggered toward the door, her dreams, her fragile hopes, all collapsing around her. Moments later, Ethan entered the sitting room, looking for her. "Mother," he said calmly, scanning the room. "Where is Clara?" Margaret didn't answer at once. She kept her eyes on her teacup. Finally, she said flatly, "She's gone." Ethan frowned. "Gone? What do you mean, gone? Where did she go?" "I sent her away," Margaret said coldly. "Sophia told me the truth. That girl is not who she pretends to be. She is a beggar in disguise. I will not allow her to fool you or disgrace this family." For a long moment, Ethan just stood there, stunned. His heart thundered in disbelief. Then slowly, his expression hardened. "You sent her away without even asking me?" "I am protecting you," Margaret said firmly. "You are above her. She will ruin your reputation. Ethan, we marry equals, not people from the gutter." That was the breaking point. Ethan's anger erupted like a storm. "So, because she is poor, she cannot be my girlfriend? That is your reason? Money? Status?" His voice shook with rage. Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Yes, our family is respected. We cannot mix with people from the street." Ethan slammed his fist on the table, making the teacup tremble. "Mother, you've made a terrible mistake. Clara may be poor, but she is richer in heart than any of these shallow, gold-chasing women you call respectable." You talk of class, but you showed her none. You talk of honor, but you gave her none. Margaret tried to speak, but Ethan cut her off. No, you hurt her. You broke her spirit. You judged her without even knowing her heart. And you expect me to smile and nod? His chest heaved with fury as he turned toward Sophia, who stood smugly in the corner. And you, he hissed, pointing a finger at her. You think you've won. You think you're clever. But I pity you, Sophia. You're laughing now, but mark my words, Kelvin will discard you the moment he finds someone richer. And when he does, don't you dare crawl back here for pity. Sophia's smile faltered instantly. Her face turned pale. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Ethan's eyes were like fire as he looked back at his mother. If you cannot accept Clara, then you will have to accept losing me. Without waiting for an answer, he stormed out of the mansion, his footsteps echoing with defiance. Outside, he leapt into his car and sped down the road, his eyes scanning desperately. Minutes later, he spotted her, a lonely figure trudging slowly, clutching a small bag, her shoulders shaking. Clara. Ethan's heart twisted at the sight of her. He slammed the brakes and pulled up beside her. Clara. She froze, then turned. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes swollen from crying. Ethan jumped out and ran to her. Where are you going? Clara clutched her bag tighter. Her voice was broken. I don't belong here, Ethan. Your mother is right. I am nothing. I'll only bring shame to you. I can't stay. Never, Ethan said fiercely, his voice cracking. Not when I found you. Not when I've fallen in love with you. Clara gasped, her lips parting in shock. What did you say? I love you, Clara, Ethan said, his eyes glistening. From the very first day I saw you, I knew you were different. At first I thought it was pity, but no, it was love, real love. You are brave, you are strong, you are true. I won't let you go. Not now, not ever. Clara shook her head, tears streaming down. But your mother hates me. Sophia will never stop until she ruins me. How can we fight them? I am just a street girl. Ethan cupped her face gently, wiping her tears with his thumb. Listen to me. You are not just anything. You are the woman I love. Money does not make a person valuable. Character does. And you, Clara, have more dignity than anyone I've ever known. Let my mother rage. Let Sophia plot. None of them can change what I feel for you. Her sobs came harder. Ethan, I don't know what to say. Say yes, he whispered. Say you'll stay. Say you'll give us a chance. Say you'll be mine. Her bag slipped from her hand as she stared into his eyes. Her heart pounded so loudly it drowned out everything else. Slowly trembling, she nodded. I'll stay, Ethan. A smile broke across his face, a smile so full of relief and love it made her knees weak. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. That's all I needed to hear. You are mine, Clara, and I will never let you go. The following afternoon, Ethan had gone out for an urgent business meeting with his manager, leaving Clara alone in the mansion. The silence of the large house weighed heavily on her. To keep herself from thinking too much, she spent the morning tidying her room, helping the cook in the kitchen, and rearranging flowers in the sitting room. She had just placed a vase back on the table when the gate creaked open. Clara turned and froze. Walking in with an air of confidence was Mandy, Ethan's ex-girlfriend. You again? Clara's voice trembled slightly, though she tried to steady it. Mandy smirked, her heels clicking against the marble floor as she stepped inside. Yes, me! Did you think you could erase me from Ethan's life so easily? You're mistaken. You a beggar in borrowed clothes, sitting in this mansion like a queen. What a joke! Clara swallowed hard, but kept her composure. Ethan isn't home. You should leave. Mandy chuckled darkly, shaking her head. Leave? Oh no, dear. I came here for you. I came to give you a warning. She took a step closer, her eyes sharp like blades. Stay away from my man, Clara. Ethan belongs to me. Clara's chest tightened, but she refused to step back. Your man? Ethan has made it clear. He's done with you. He chose me. Those words stung Mandy, her eyes flashing. Chose you? Do you even hear yourself? You are nothing, homeless, penniless, a street beggar. You think you belong in this world of wealth and status. You're only using Ethan for his money. A girl like you will never last here. Clara's heart pounded, but her voice rose with quiet strength. Yes, I was poor. Yes, I lived on the streets and begged to survive. But answer me this, Mandy. If I'm nothing, then why did Ethan leave you and choose me? Mandy froze, her jaw tightening. Clara took a brave step forward, her eyes unwavering. You had beauty, luxury, expensive clothes, and everything society says a man should desire. Yet Ethan still walked away from you and chose me. Do you know why? Because love is not about status. It's about the heart. Mine is real. Yours is empty, filled with pride and greed. Mandy gasped, her face darkening. How dare you speak to me like this? I dare, Clara said firmly, her voice steady now, because I am no longer the weak girl you thought I was. Ethan loves me, not you. Poverty is not a crime, Mandy, but pride is why you lost him. Mandy's nostrils flared, her voice rising in fury. Enjoy this house while you can, Clara. I swear you won't last here. I'll make sure of it. Clara shook her head slowly, her lips trembling, but her eyes glowing with resolve. You can try, but you will fail, because Ethan has made his choice, and his choice is me. For a tense moment, both women stood face to face, Mandy burning with rage, Clara radiating a newfound strength. Then, with a sharp turn of her heel, Mandy stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Clara exhaled shakily and sank into the chair. Her hands trembled, but her heart was calm. She whispered to herself, I may not have riches, but I have his love, and that is greater than gold. Meanwhile in town, a week later, Kelvin, the same man Clara once dated before Ethan, was spotted by Sophia while she was shopping for clothes in the city. She had just bought a set of expensive jewellery when she decided to stop by a small restaurant for a drink. As she entered, she heard his voice. Kelvin. Her lips curved into a smile, ready to surprise him, but then froze. He wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was a young woman, 5 months pregnant, dressed simply, her rounded belly visible. Sophia's breath caught, but she stayed hidden, listening. Kelvin leaned in close to the woman, his voice low but clear enough. My love, don't worry. Just be patient. By the time I finish milking Sophia dry, we'll have enough money to leave this place. I'll take you and our baby abroad. We'll start fresh. The pregnant woman blushed shyly. Are you sure? What if she finds out? Kelvin smirked, his voice laced with cruelty. She won't. Sophia's a fool. She thinks I'm devoted to her, but all I love is her money. Once I'm done with her, she'll be nothing to me. You and our child are my real family. The woman giggled, touching her belly. You're too wicked. Wicked but smart, Kelvin replied, grinning. Soon we'll live like royalty. Sophia will never see it coming. Sophia staggered back, her blood boiling, her world shattering. So it's true. He never loved me. Tears blurred her vision, her chest heaving. Her mind flashed back to Clara's words. One day he will leave you too. Now, standing outside that restaurant, Sophia realized Clara had been right all along. Kelvin had played her, just as he had once played Clara, her fists clenched, her teeth grinding. Kelvin, you'll regret this, she whispered, her tears mixing with anger. I may have been blind, but no more. You thought I was your fool, but you've just made your worst mistake. Back at the mansion. That evening, the air in the mansion grew heavy. Ethan had returned, but tension lingered between him and his mother, Sophia's aunt. The events of the past week had left cracks in the family, but suddenly, headlights swept across the compound as a sleek black car rolled in. A driver stepped out and opened the back door. Out came Mr. Daniels, Ethan's father. He had been abroad for medical treatment for months, and his return was supposed to be joyous. Ethan's mother, Lady Margaret, rushed to him, tears in her eyes. Darling, you're back! Thank God! Later that night, the family gathered in the living room. Clara sat quietly beside Ethan, her hands folded, while Lady Margaret glared silently at her. Mr. Daniels broke the silence, his deep voice steady. I've already heard everything. About Clara, about Sophia's meddling, about the lies. Clara, don't look surprised. I know you were thrown out of this house once, and I know my wife is against you. Lady Margaret stiffened. Yes, because she is poor. She lied about her background. She has no place in our family. Mr. Daniels leaned forward, his eyes piercing. And where were you when I met you? Were you not a poor girl from a village with nothing? Did you not wear one faded wrapper every day until I married you? His wife's face paled. That was different. No, Mr. Daniels snapped. It is the same. Poverty yesterday is the same as poverty today. Have you forgotten where you came from? You of all people should know that being poor doesn't make someone worthless. Clara's eyes brimmed with tears. Mr. Daniels turned back to his wife. You have no right to choose Ethan's wife. That is his decision. If he loves Clara, then so be it. His voice softened. Wealth is nothing without love. I married you when you had nothing, and today we are respected. Why deny your son the same chance? Or do you want him trapped in a loveless union? The room fell into silence. Slowly, Lady Margaret lowered her head. The truth was undeniable. Shame flushed her cheeks. She turned to Clara, her voice trembling. Forgive me. I was blinded by wealth and appearances. I was wrong to chase you away. You love my son, and he loves you. That is what matters. From today, you have my blessing. Clara gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Thank you, Ma, she whispered, her heart swelling. Ethan smiled widely, relief breaking across his face. He pulled Clara close, his eyes shining. See, I told you. We'll win together. And for the first time since stepping into that mansion, Clara truly believed it. 2 weeks later, the city seemed softer that morning, the heat tempered, birds testing the air, and a hush that made small things feel grand. Ethan had planned everything quietly. A private garden tucked behind an old estate, lanterns hung between trees, and a string quartet hidden out of sight so the music would arrive like a breeze. Clara walked through the flowered arch and paused. Breath caught. Colours and scent overwhelmed her. Ethan, this place, she began, cheeks lifting in a confused smile. He took both her hands and held them as if they were the only solid things in the world. Clara, he said, voice steady and full, 2 weeks ago I almost lost you. I almost let pride and everyone else's expectations pull us apart. But being without you showed me only one truth. I want you, all of you, in my life. I don't care about the past. I don't care about what anyone thinks. I care about us. Before she could answer, he sank to one knee. The little box he opened revealed a small diamond that caught the sunlight and threw it back like hope. Will you marry me? He asked. Clara's hands flew to her face. Tears came before words. Yes, she whispered, and then louder. Yes, Ethan. He slid the ring onto her finger and lifted her into an embrace, a quiet promise sealed between roses and birdsong. The revelation. Later that day, Ethan dressed for one of the most important meetings of his career, a chance to sign a nationwide deal that would change his company's future. He arrived at the luxury hotel with his briefcase and confidence. But when he walked into the grand conference room the next morning, his breath stuttered. Sitting at the head of the table, poised, composed, and radiant, was Clara. A ripple of stunned silence rolled around the room. Ethan stared. Clara rose, walked forward with calmness, and smiled. Good morning, Ethan. I trust you've come for the Thompson negotiation, she said with a nod. Ethan's pulse hammered. Thompson, wait! Clara, what are you doing here? She reached for his hand as if steadying both of them. I need to tell you the truth, she said softly. I did grow up attending gala dinners. Nothing about my life has been simple. But I have another truth, one I kept to myself for a long time because I was afraid men would only see one thing, my family's name. He blinked, confused. I am Mr. Harrington Thompson's daughter. She allowed the shock to settle in Ethan's face before continuing. But I staged the disguise, living simply, slipping into the streets, to find out if someone would care for me when nothing of my name or money was visible. I wanted to know who would love the woman, not the surname. You loved me when you thought I had nothing. You defended me when others judged. That is why I brought this to you today." Ethan's legs felt like lead. His throat tightened. "You tested me," he said, half in wonder, half in awe. "Yes," Clara answered, "and you passed." He wrapped his arms around her, not because of the power the revelation could bring, but because of the courage he had watched in her, the same courage that had changed him. Sophia's downfall. Across town, a darker story unspooled. Sophia, once loved, then scorned, could not sleep. Kelvin's words replayed endlessly. She was a bank to him, expendable when a richer ladder appeared. That truth burned into her until it reshaped her into something dangerous. One evening, she used a dirty secret, a bribed delivery driver, and a cruel plan to silence the man who had used her. The pizza that arrived at Kelvin's apartment that night carried poison. Laughter inside turned to choking, panic, then silence. Kelvin and the woman he'd promised to run away with collapsed. 2 lives ended in quiet horror. The police investigation was swift. The delivery driver broke under questioning and pointed to Sophia. In court, the evidence closed around her like a noose. The judge's sentence was severe. Sophia was found guilty of murder and given life imprisonment. Her screams in the courtroom could not undo a cruelty born from wounded pride. 2 months later, the chapel was full. White flowers hung like soft confessions from the rafters, and family and friends filled the front pews. Clara glowed in a simple gown that suited the woman she had become, honest, brave, and quietly regal. Ethan stood beside her, steady as a promise. The pastor asked the questions that make a life out of a sentence. "Ethan, do you take Clara to be your wife?" he asked. "I do," Ethan replied with no pause. "And Clara, do you take Ethan?" the pastor continued. "I do," Clara answered, and the chapel breathed. When the pastor declared them husband and wife, the applause that rose was warm and real. At the reception, Ethan lifted his glass and spoke in a voice that trembled with gratitude. "Love is not a ledger," he told the gathered crowd. "It is a choice we make when everything else tries to tell us otherwise. Clara loved through fear. She gave honesty where lies are easier, and I am proud to be loved by her. Never judge a person by the cover of their life." They kissed. The room erupted in cheers, and for that night at least, the world felt made right. Epilogue. Clara and Ethan built a life not gilded but steady. They gave back quietly. Evening shifts at the local shelter funded by anonymous donations, hiring former street vendors into honest jobs, and opening a small scholarship for girls from the neighbourhoods Clara had once known. Mr. Daniels watched the couple with a father's pride, and Ethan's mother, chastened and softened, learned to welcome courage over class. And in quieter moments, when the garden was still and the world allowed them it, Clara would slip her hand into Ethan's and remember the morning she accepted a ring under that arch of jasmine. She would think of the long road that had led from cardboard boxes to polished floors, and be grateful, with a gratitude steady enough to be the frame of their future. Hello, beloved viewers. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this story. Remember, life always teaches us lessons. Never look down on anyone, for the rejected stone can become the cornerstone. Be kind, be patient, and never let greed blind your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. See you in the next one. Bye! Would you like me to also break this into